All right, it's now 3:45. Call the Kingston Water Commission to order. Finish up signing all the bills. We have minutes. Are we both here for the date? We know we order line.
No.
Guess we got what's on that now. No, Casca might be joining in. They don't see there yet. Don't remember. Otherwise, let's go right to Christian Bird. Usually.
Well, what do we do Katie first?
Really?
Yeah,
Sure.
she should be quick.
Yeah.
I think Kristen don't mind, and I told Kristen
Yeah.
want to stay on anyway.
I did not.
Take one over here.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
You can't do. So my name is Katie. I work for No in the Village, and I work over at the Econ Center in Kingston, right on Independence Road. And we are an adult day rehabilitation program for adults over the age of 22 who have either a diagnosis of an intellectual or developmental disability. The individuals who attend our program are people who probably will never get a chance to get out into the workforce, either by want or by ability. And so the reason I'm here today is because we have several individuals who attend our program, and they have for at least 5 years petitioned us to please let them have a car wash. And so this is really like a 5-year dream in the making. The particular individuals who have requested this from us are people who, given other circumstances in life, they would be out working just like you or I, and they really have an interest in vehicles. They have an interest in being social and working in the community. And so this is an opportunity for not only those individuals who asked us about the car wash, but all the other folks in the program to get a little taste of what it's like to do some work and to do some volunteering. So we have the proposal here is just a one-day event. In total, we're only looking at 9 cars, given our own side of constraints and what we think is just feasibly accomplished in that time. By very scientific method of figuring out how much water we could use, I filled it yet. Times how long it took to fill a gallon of water, shocking. But all said and done, we're looking at a total duration of 90 minutes for the car wash. 3 5-gallon buckets of water, and then like about 4 minutes per vehicle of water use. So
I think you go to give these people the opportunity that they can water takes no problem in authorizing a one-day use for a car wash, 9 vehicles to give them a reason to be there and a reason to smile. I hope that to authorize one-day car wash. You want to go.
Are you asking we need more than just our commissioner run last? Water. Yeah. So
no, you just know that there's a water restriction, and we didn't want to get our fingers stuck.
Yes, that's great. Yeah, I think you definitely know this more than meets the criteria for AQL. So yeah, motion second and approved. That's great. You sure don't want any of the cars out there?
So this is the first time we've ever had an opportunity to give it a try, and we thought, we looked at the time and we said, how many cars could we reasonably get accomplished? And so let's give this one a little whirl. And if we have great success, then I think we'd be open to increasing the numbers, because I know the folks that come to program would love that, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Right, good. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to bring all this stuff and get to know them. Anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any assistance? Reach out.
Sure.
See what we can do.
Sure thing. Thanks very much.
Good luck. Hey.
Have a good afternoon.
Probably do.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks.
Yeah.
Want to be a abatement?
I went outside here. No, let just go back there. Just like that. Okay, that's problem. Go ahead, Kristen.
Okay, very good. So updates on projects, the Main Street Water Main project The punch list items are still pending at this point. That coordination needs to happen with the Mass DOT sidewalk project. So now that, and with Chris being back around, that was one of the other stipulations, is that we wanted Chris to be around for that work. So that still needs to be done. And project cost updates, not too much has changed. We did get another police detail invoice submitted, but it's just about the same contingency that was the last time we talked about it. The next project, the new well project, Kleinfelder is finalizing the WS-17 permit application. That's the request for site examination from Mass DEP. That we anticipate that to get submitted either this week or next week. They are also moving forward with the access road survey. That's for the alternative C route. That was the shortest route. And once the design is ready for that, they will be submitting a permit application to the Conservation Commission. The Drinking Water State Revolving Fund program project evaluation form, that's the sort of interest submittal for funding, is due this Friday. Kleinfelder provided us with a draft last week. We turned around comments on that, and they are incorporating the comments and are going to provide us with another draft review. As soon as I see that come in, we'll turn that around right away. Since time is of the essence, we want to make sure, get that submitted on time and try to get as many points as possible for that, the scoring of that project evaluation form. Those are the updates, progress that's been made since the last meeting. Do you have any questions?
Really, I read through the minutes of the meeting. It seems like Kleinfelder is moving along as quickly as they can. Hopefully that DEP moves along as well.
Yes, yeah, the Southeast Region Drinking Water Program has been very responsive over recent years. So I expect that they know that this is a high priority project. So I believe they will act on it as soon as it comes in and turn it around as quickly as they can.
It's a good question. I know what the first couple of times the past starts how it goes. It's quickly it's so slow, so can't get a warrant article on all time we war. Well,
My own opinion is I don't believe Kleinfelder is firing up a log that we can put in a month. What we really need is the amount it's going to take to build it. I don't think we're there yet.
just on that. Yeah. That's what we did. I'm done with it.
We would love to be able to do that, but if you put the wrong amount on
I
it,
just wasn't sure if that had to change. Chris, if anything comes up that you think that they could do something earlier, but that you'd have to have something there pretty soon. I'm just like, yeah, I just. Well, we'll plan on the spring. I think is best. Next slide. Look at it. Is that it for you then, Kristen, or?
Yes, that's it.
All right, so over to Chris. Just a quick update, to work with Kathy and Keith to finalize the chemical contracts, chemical co-op, and fuel hang-ups with, one new vendor and get 2 out of 3 contracts finalized. We have one with the opposite of working finalized, final process. That was supposed to state work there with that. So I heard a little bit about this before. We have the issues with slides, or it's going to be a photo finish because of the delay process to finalize the product order that it's on its way. So this is a new vendor, or why is it? Okay, somebody told that we had all their paperwork in mind. This there's stick lives. It's one of the previous issues of paperwork that get resolved now. That's the work. So I think he probably give you more patience. Care about if you get it all by the end, we get with all timelines. I would hope we're at this point we're waiting for and see if I call that. I'll just wait to get ready to shut down. They was reading that over weeks we asked for it. So I should look there. Yeah, that's a bad abuse. If they don't come through, what's our fault last time? Like we're the order. or there is no maintenance. So if they can't deliver, we check. That's the only value of the use. So, all right. I'm hearing it. It's shipping all resolved. It's the benefits. Yeah, it's hopefully it be there's all. Okay. So and when's our start date? What did Monday? Friday? Monday, Friday. All right, we can decide on the end of the day tomorrow. In early midday Thursday. We're gonna get paint. If it falls through, what are we looking at on Monday? If we run out, needs to be a lower pH. Fish water the whole. Okay, which of course is a long term concern. Like short term, the temp pumps offline. Okay. Short term, the TA is for the long term. We'll work it up. We show us other pounds. Okay, get something. No, down being we're not that point. Okay, all right. So I'll make sure. The new truck for the Pullman has been ordered. That is, I hope possibly 1 to 3 months to see the truck. We had a individual with a representative from UMass College that works eventually SEP like got a program. It reached out to preschool on Main Street, volunteer their services that got free 1 round of free blood sample. What about routine sites? Rotate through. You have rotation based on the sampling guidelines. It'll be on the rotation this year. This organization went out, they collected samples, came back with abnormal results, which caused a line from preschool into the deputies of the preschool. The work diligently with resolved. I spoke to the agency previously, he thinks it would have been an analysis issue or what should. So, if they nailed it down yet, or no, I'm waiting for our results to come back. We collected around samples on Friday. It's not bad for around that. So, what do we think is on that? It's 3 weeks, so those results to come back. So, the meantime, they're still operating normally. Yeah, just water, stuff like that. It's they have good place stuff.
You said that this is one of the locations you use on a regular basis.
Yes.
Has there ever been any indication of any lead in any of the service testing that you've done at that location or in general throughout the town?
No. On the levels are back below the actual levels. That discussion, we had a leak down at that area. Saddle on the main failed to be saddle in the line. The line was proper to be the gearbox. Now it's replaced the ball saddle. So proper on the other side. So there's quality coming up to the floor in the basement. So the lawn service front was on the front of property. You get to control of all what comes in. That gets some water leaching because water at a lower pH where it shouldn't. Of water is under for that. So it's kind of almost a chemical impossibility to have this is what I'm feeling. I think the analysis, flaw is probably where you're at. But I just, just paying attention to think about that is that to get lead in the water take a lot more of what is happening in those pipes right now. It wouldn't be a source thing from our wells. There is something each or on the service line on their facilities on private property. That's why we do samples. It's 12-hour first raw samples. So you have time that water sit still like creating these curves to have the first drops of lead, brass sleeves, solid joints, like that. To get that first raw flush line full with fresh water made there. So that's how that's. Do we follow from the UMass work that terms of other secondary testing procedures, or they just they go out, they collect their samples and that's it? The subsequent samples of the it's expensive. Have they had any issues with the samples that take longer? It's the whole round of samples. It's just like slow to and
just interested with, usually you get something of IP tech, you first draw, and that flush will go down that lot. Every top, some will mix up, or you draw hot water, can't speak.
So, and they just kind of came out on their own, or why did they choose? There's in talking to the individual UMass worker, they have a marketing soliciting program to get free sample out there. It in turn opens the door for school or organizations like that to get grant money to place fixtures or install water fill station, install filters. It's kind of like a homework sort of thing. Actually, sort of yes. So it was a solicitation to this address that they responded to, and they act on that. Is that financial stake in detects? I can't answer that question. Who's cares? But seems like we're going to resolve on that. I had a conversation with got it up. So wait and see what the test. Yes. That's for all I some so new business. So big request 36A homes can you prepare.
Yeah, this was one of my been brought before you into people.
Yeah.
They had a shot on me on a lot. They didn't find it until after they in March though. But they wasn't until April that they'd actually listed there. So the team that already given that consideration on the March bill, the new usage, I had mentioned at the time we were probably going to come back for us again once we got the June. That's just within that same cycle.
So they already have the first week fixing and the soliciting before.
Yes.
That's all set.
Yeah.
Continue motion to reduce the usage bill to the lowest tier.
Don't believe it.
Second and through. Then last thing on new business is our discussion the last in the moratorium. And I guess really feeling a little bit because I had a conversation with Jim McLaughlin, the DEP. I called him last week sometime, just to kind of see if I could find out when we can expect a response from them in terms of the letters and nothing. Once he returned my call, the response they're going to be sending us isn't really much the letter, but more the fact that we're on their radar in terms of water usage, and that they have concerns about water usage, specifically on account of water and other things like that. And they're going to ask us to sit down and kind of review our processes and what we are planning in terms of how to deal with the water usage, and then also what assistance they can do for that. Your question?
I do, because we historically have been very cognizant of the fact that we're having a lot of conversations. Conversations change depending on who's listening to what others being said. It's always been important to want us to carry a paper tracking system of what we're saying. So it's not one person here and one thing, it's somebody else or something else. If we've sent something to DEP, Chelsea Freedom, Jim McGraw, and we have yet to get something back from him in writing. Not that I disbelieve what he said to you, but it's really just hearsay. We took a great deal of thought, expertise, using Kristen's expertise to talk about internally whether or not we should move forward with a moratorium. We did it so that we protected every single resident in the town of Kingston should something fail. We didn't do it because we were worried about moratoriums as far as sewer hookup are concerned. We have someone from sewer come in and talk about they need the money, because they're in financial bind. So I look back over the history of the Solar Commission. The Solar Commission basically did two phases. The initial phase, which was Rocking North, and the second phase extended toward the center of town. In both those phases, one of the key principles was to clean up the water that one ran into John's River, to remove the inflow, and because that water that goes into John's River goes into the bed, and that's where Rocking Up became a major point of interest. And yet, the Soil Commission, for whatever reason, purposefully excluded Main Street from Summer Street to Torres Corner and the side streets off of that. Roughly 100 homes, a relatively short, easy piece of pipe to install, where you've got pumping stations at Walking Road, you've got pumping stations at the center of town, and you have a pumping station at Brook Street, which means that if in fact you had sewer from those approximately 100 homes, you wouldn't really need additional pumping capacity because it would all flow downhill. To say that we put in a moratorium and now we have stopped growth in the town, we understood that we would be restricting it, but we did that so that we could protect every single person in town. To suggest that we should be able to lift that immediately, and if something should go wrong, we can put in a total ban and police it ourselves. That's sort of like putting a fox in the hen house, or after the horse escapes, closing the barn door. I am not opposed to looking at lifting the moratorium. I'm opposed to doing it until such time as we are completely convinced that we have a plan developed with the money to build the well. Once we have a construction contract where we can have a relatively defined date of completion, we would be in a much better position. I know historically, I guess it's been about 44 years. I've been involved with building 3 major capacity wells, 2 treatment facilities, and 2 tanks. So I've seen this department from where it was when I first started to where we are today. To suggest that any one of us is opposed to growth in a town, I think is an insult to me. More than anybody else, because I've been here the longest. And I think that is completely unfair and unsupported. We've used engineers to document why the moratorium is appropriate. I think that if we sit down with a jumbo office and a round table so that each one of us can sit and listen to them and see what DEP will actually do, other than monitor what we're doing, then we would be in much stronger ground to say we're moving forward. But just to throw a dot at a brick wall and watch the dot bounce off the brick wall and lift the moratorium, my opinion, is absolutely the wrong way to go.
Yeah. Well, talking to Jim about water usage, I specifically asked about moratorium concerns. He's like, that's not my purvey. My own goal is to be sit down with the DP goals to sit down and discuss water usage and those sort of things, and your response to that, or your response to that. And I look back at our decision to do moratorium, and at the time, I still think that was a wise decision. That, but I don't feel that I was making that decision based on all the information that we needed. I think the DEP, we were basically, seeing some numbers on our usage and trying to prevent the DEP from coming at us in any way. And that I don't think was sound logic on that. It's telling them now, it's like trying to fix our water usage issues by shutting off any more connections to it seems to be like a really, a cudgel when you need to use a scalpel for some of the problems. Because I think that logic, you might as well just turn off all the water if you're not going to have, but this doesn't seem to be the least restrictive response to this. And I think as we've seen the consequences across town, and whether or not sewer issues or whatever town issues or growth issues, I think it's in our best interest as a commission to be responsive to the town's needs as possible. And I think what I've seen about our unaccounted for water numbers going down, what I see from other things we're thinking about, the process of things we're doing in terms of meters and stuff, things, I think that our moratorium is probably it's reached its end, is my opinion. And I think, now let me finish up here, because I think as we go through this and meet with DC, obviously there's going to be a couple of years of concerns as we're waiting for a new well to come out. So now the DP, and I'd love to find out from Kristen what she thinks about this as well. Their decisions to sit down and come up with some solutions for us. I get the impression that puts us on a faster track in terms of permitting and possibly even state monies. I know, Kristen, do you have any opinion on that in terms of if we're working with the DEP and some consent order stuff, do we get preferred treatment in any way, do you know, or?
They will, in particular, the Southeast region's really good about turning around permit reviews. So I'm sure Jim will do whatever he can do to help with the timeline. In terms of the funding, you do get extra points if you have a consent order or an NON or any enforcement order in place. The hard part will be this project. It's not an MCL project. So it's not like, there's going to be a lot of water suppliers that will submit these SRF project evaluation forms for treatment of PFAS. Those projects will start out with a 500-point level, and then they build up from there. This project, since it's to do more with infrastructure, would start out at a 400 level threshold. So, and last year, there were a couple of projects that did still get funded that were 400 level projects. It just depends on how much competition there are with these drinking water MCL projects, and then how much money is available.
Permitting probably would be sped up.
Yes. Yep.
Money's not so known.
Yep.
Again, we used Kristen's expertise and her knowledge of this system and what we've gone through completely with a great deal of respect and work on her part to document why the moratorium was in fact the best way to go at the time. We won't get into any other politics in town on when we acquired the land or what happened to the delay in doing that. Had that not happened, we'd be in construction now, but that's water over the dam that's already been removed. One of my concerns is, a couple of my concerns is, one, we have litigation ongoing with town council. Kristen talked to us about his most recent discussion with town council and where that litigation is. And we did this knowing full right well that we were going to have some ramifications, but we did it so that in fact we could protect every single resident of town Kingston. Yeah, there were other ways to
So,
But I think the sound cut off.
yeah, I did.
okay.
Sound good?
Yeah, it's back.
Okay.
My feeling is that before we move anywhere, then I'll make a motion to suggest that we have a sit-down roundtable with Jim McLaughlin so that each and every one of us can hear and we can document exactly what DEP will assist us with and how they can assist us, rather than just so that's a motion.
Do you have a second? Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to, just because Jim is, from what I understand, we were on the docket last week, and that within a week, we're supposed to be getting their response, which won't be a request. It's going to tell us we're going to be sitting down with them. So I think that's coming already. So I don't think we need to make a motion for that. It's going to happen, because they demand it.
Then I suggest we put off any decision on lifting the moratorium until such time as we've had a sit down with DEP, because they are the basically, controlling factor on where we're moving and how we're moving forward.
You joined in there. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I thought you sat down with DEP last week, Bob.
I talked with Jim last week. I'll fill you in real quick from my side. Jim McLaughlin from DEP said that they're going to be sending us a letter asking us to sit down, telling us that we're going to sit down with them to discuss water usage concerns, as well as what we're planning on doing that with their input. And from that, what else was it there? Did you hear anything else from our discussion from Bud's side?
I heard most of what Bud said, but then he cut out, and then I don't know.
So his proposal
I had trouble
is
putting together what he was talking about before, and then when the sound came back on.
his proposal is to sit back and wait until such time as a meeting with the DEP occurs, and not do anything until that point in time. Do you have anything you want to contribute to the conversation?
Personally, I think waiting 3 weeks or 4 weeks, or however, it'll take at least 3 weeks for us to act on it again, puts the town in increasingly more jeopardy. And I'm not leaning towards postponing it. I think I really want to move on the moratorium.
Any other questions, or Chris, do you want to add in anything from your perspective?
I do. I think that the moratorium was put in place after great research and guidance from Kristen. And I find it hard to understand that, Bob, that you would have conversations with the DEP and not make me aware of that as department that filled me in with that stuff. I feel as though I should have been privileged to those discussions prior to this meeting. That is upsetting to me.
So,
And any of these other sidebar conversations that go on. And as a department head, I feel that I should be in front speed with that stuff. You keep me in the dark, that's offensive to me. And the risk versus benefit, I don't see the risk versus benefit to lifting the moratorium this time. It was implemented after great research and due diligence and a lot of questions and a lot of discussion involving our engineer. And to step forward and remove that at this point, even though, the well project is moving along, we're making great strides, the risk versus benefit, should there be a real true water emergency, is going to really put us in a hard position. And I just really should be considered. I sit at night and I watch the trends, the tank trends, what's pumping. The tanks drop to low level ones. All the wells are running to recover. It takes a good part of the day for us to recover. Should there be a fire emergency that requires substantial water, should there be a breach in the system with this uncontrollable loss of water, it's going to jeopardize the town with a huge burden. If you start releasing a moratorium, you're going to have large-scale projects. You're going to have a lot of waste that's going to be going on that we don't have right now. Fill mains, flush mains, disinfect mains, all of that. And I watch these tank trends, and it keeps me up at night. Make sure there's going to be enough water in the morning for people that they can have in the high spots of town, the higher elevations of town, to have water come out of their faucets, which they expect. So, Attorney Pervench's law done. Attorney Pervench, could you provide any other insight or guidance to the board, please?
My name is Matt Preventure. I'm from Town Council, Mead, Talaman, and Costa. I've been working with Chris and with Kristen on some of the water supply and capacity issues they specifically arose in the context of a 40B application that was subject to a decision by the Zoning Board of Appeals. And there's been some ongoing litigation about that because a critical issue in that case is whether there's adequate water supply to service the project based on the analysis that Ms. Berger has conducted and submitted to the board, as well as the town at large, along with Mr. Varaka's position on it. So I know there was some discussion earlier about potentially wanting to discuss things with town council. I just want to say I'm available. My office is available. I think particularly with respect to specific opinions or comments about pending litigation, exposure, or liability to the town, those are probably subjects that are more appropriate for an executive session because it's confidential advice, and I don't feel entirely comfortable having that kind of discussion in an open session. It should be for the benefit of the board to weigh its options and the risks, the pros and cons of proceeding with any course. If the commission has any questions in general about what is the nature of DEP enforcement? Can, an oral comment from a DEP regional director bind the Department of Environmental Protection in general? I'm happy to have that discussion with it, but I figured rather than proceeding with just any general comments, I agree this is a policy matter for you all to decide what's appropriate. I think you've received a lot of expert technical advice from Ms. Berger and from Mr. Varaka's experience and expertise with the operations of the department. I don't know, and I'm not aware of any reason to believe that anything changes the underlying facts supporting those analyses. But if there's anything you want me to look at, you want me to take a look at and review, we'll be happy to do so. So I would just say, if you have any specific questions before I try to give any general overview that might be of assistance, I'm happy to field them if you have anything in particular you'd like me to address.
Bob, do you have anything? Are you on here?
Well, one of the ways I would disagree with Chris is we have substantially more information now than we had when we put in the moratorium. And the information that we have now, for me, buffers the issues that we had prior to that. We're talking about a relatively short period of time, and we're talking about a catastrophic event that we have never experienced in my time I've lived in Kingston, and highly, highly, highly unlikely to experience again. And should we have that experience, suppose Traco Pond goes down for 2 or 3 months, we would have to institute a water ban anyways, and we would have to be getting in discussions with the people in the community about conserving water, and we would have to be giving people tickets when they were using outdoor water when they weren't supposed to. So those things would all take place if Traco Pond went down. If Traco Pond doesn't go down, all we're doing is giving the town of Kingston an opportunity to perhaps improve the tax base, which right now is, if you were at the last town meeting, is an issue, and it would bail, in some respects, the sewer commissions out of a problem we created by putting in the moratorium. And if we were to eliminate the moratorium and go back to our other plans, we can always reinstitute it should a situation be created that results in that being necessary. I think we're creating a problem for the town of Kingston. We're creating a problem for our credibility because we're saying that we're not doing this to control growth, but it's very apparent to people in town, or at least that's what they're telling me. It is very clear to them that that's what this is about. And I'm sure there are some people applauding it, but there are also other people that aren't applauding it. And that's not our job. Our job is not to be controlling growth using water. Our job is to work with other people in the town of Kingston to provide the best situation for the town of Kingston. So that's where I'm coming from. And the information that we got about the amount of drinking quality effluent that's going to be deposited right near Smelt Pond, 350,000 gallons will make up any loss of water that we would have, and that gets turned on very soon. I just having trouble understanding why, with the new information that we got, we can't make an adjustment to our plan.
I'm sorry, Bob, I haven't been privileged that the new information that you have is a superintendent, and I take offense to that. I don't know what this new information is. I'd like.
Well, actually, you had to have heard.
I don't know why you're constantly picking on Trapper Pond as losing Trapper Pond. If we lost Grassy Hole or South Street, those would be detrimental to the supply of this town.
I agree with you. I picked.
A lightning strike, a power outage, a generator failure during a power outage. So there's a multitude of factors that aren't being weighed in the whole picture. That's and to say that it's stopping growth, I disagree with you on that. There's construction going on. You have the Priola project that's going on 106 that he's intending to put in private wells. You have other private houses that have been going in that put in private wells on 27 around Country Club Way, on Station Street. So there's not a stopping growth. There's projects that are going on.
But they're stopping. My point, Chris, is they're stopping growth of commercial development, which is where the tax base needs to be improved from, and that is dead in the water without us making some adjustment here.
What's the
and to answer your comments before, the information about the 350,000 gallons of affluent that's going to be that was at our last meeting. It was brought up at our last meeting, and it probably was brought up at the meeting that Brian attended prior to that. In fact, I remember him bringing it up. So that's not new information. That's information together with other stuff that we've learned indicates to me that what was a dire consequence when I voted to put in the moratorium, I don't see it as a dire consequence anymore. I see it as something to monitor. Sure, absolutely. We're now in the middle of July, and you're right. We're probably pumping in excess of 2 million gallons pretty much every day in July. But then August is going to come, and then it's going to be shorter water use, and we've already started building the well. So we're not looking at 7 years down the road. We're looking at a couple of years down the road in order to help the town of Kingston rebuild its tax base, in order to help the sewer department recover from the problem we caused them. I think it's a small risk for a big benefit.
All right. Well, first of all, I don't feel we caused the sewer department any problem. The sewer department developed their project and built their project at their peril. And you talk about the recharge from their new leach field. That is a potential recharge only when that leach field is in use. Is that correct? As opposed to the other couple of leach fields that they use currently?
But they're planning on turning this leach field on very soon.
Very soon. Interesting trends.
But again, that you can only get that benefit of that recharge when that leach field is utilized. And as Mr. Donahoe stated, you rotate through different leach fields, the one under the transfer station, the one on the golf course, the new field, I think there was another field. So there's not going to be a full-time recharge out of that site.
I think we've heard a lot from our opinions here, from commissioners as well as the superintendent. Is there anyone else online or here who wants to contribute to the conversation at all before we kind of move on with new information?
I don't mean to interrupt. There were just a couple of questions posed, and I know that Chris and Bob had to have a conversation, but I just wanted to address those as I understood them, if that's all right with the board.
Sure.
So one of the things that we noted is that there's no current issue with moving forward on, restarting water service connection permits. One thing that we've taken the position on, and it's my legal opinion, that based on the information analysis that Ms. Berger conducted, the town is actually not in a position to be compliant with state regulations on the guidelines for public water systems. Now, I know that the title of the document is called Guidelines. They are enforceable against the town through Chapter 111, which is the public health statute. And then they're also enforceable under the Code of Massachusetts regulations as promulgated by the state DEP. Now, it's an enforcement decision for the DEP and it's therefore discretionary, but the issue is so straightforward, and the amount of unaccounted for water and other recoverable sources to be added to the total is not sufficient as a matter of pure math to bridge the gap between what the town's required maximum daily demand metric is and how much its pumping can satisfy with the largest well source offline. So that's just something that was addressed in testimony in the 40B proceeding. Ms. Berger testified upon it extensively. There was a developer who had a water engineer expert, and by and large, that expert agreed with her analysis that municipalities are required to comply with the guidelines. They're not optional, and that the amount of unaccounted for water and other recoverable amounts, whether that's through metering upgrades or anything like that, is not going to be sufficient to bridge the gap between what the town needs and what it's capable of producing with its largest well source offline. And I can tell you that because that's something we've said in public and in filings. That's a matter of public record. So I just want you to be aware of that because I think that's information I can provide. Separately, as to what the DEP may do, that's their decision. But until such time as you get a really binding commitment in writing from an official who's high enough up in the DEP hierarchy to bind the agency, I would not advise you that you can rely on any conversation or discussion you have about enforcement. Of course, it's relevant. I'm not suggesting that they're misleading you or trying to do anything. I'm just telling you that as a matter of law, you're not entitled to rely on that kind of discussion. It's not going to be legally binding. They can change their mind and they can do or make any decision that they feel they need to until such time as they formally commit to not doing so. So I just wanted to make sure you had that. If there are any further questions based on that, my understanding is other than that discussion, there are no further questions that you wanted addressed. But if there's anything I missed or I didn't capture something, please feel free to let me know.
I got no questions.
Document how they plan to move forward. You know, as far as DEP in the Southeast Ridge. Yeah, these town council speaking basically to us, making a recommendation to us that we not do anything based on strictly discussion. And we know that anyways, and we've always reacted that way. Not always, as quickly as people want, but we do it because we want to make sure that we have the documentation that is forthright and we can move forward.
And I hear that. And the chance that if we move the end of the moratorium and before meeting with the DEP and also sit down with them and they're like, why did you take that moratorium up? I doubt that conversation is going to happen that way. And it would be horrible governance to flip flop on that. But if that's something that they say is a reasonable, way to address our water usage issues, I would revisit that. I've heard everything to the contrary, and that the moratorium is not a preferred method of dealing with these. It's a last ditch sort of thing. There's a lot of stuff that can be done ahead of time. So I think we are doing as well. I think from what I've seen and heard over the past 12 months, I think we have a manageable amount of risk to the water supplies in Kingston. If we remove the moratorium, if we don't, we have a much more damning, I think, concern for the long-term, health of the town. That's kind of where my thoughts is going. I would not do this, remove the moratorium without that other sort of concern hanging over. Because I think,
And I do have a question for town council. Now that you mentioned it, can I ask him a question?
yeah, go ahead.
What other cities or towns have gone through the same issue that we have, where they put in a moratorium, and how has that impacted those towns?
I haven't specifically looked into it because my exposure has generally been in the context of the 40B proceeding, and that's limited to the facts of what has happened. You generally can't bring in examples of what happened elsewhere. From the examinations that I conducted in that case, specifically cross-examining the developer's water engineer expert, he said that he had heard of it happening only a couple of times across a career that's about 30 years. And my understanding from, I mean, I didn't get too much into it because I thought it was of very limited relevance to a case about this particular project in the town of Kingston. My understanding is that it was a similar situation here where the municipality experienced a rapid or unanticipated rise in the demand upon its system and needed time to either develop a new source or to pursue some other avenue to get more water, but that it was similar in the nature that there was not enough water capacity and the town's need was to put the brakes on everything while it developed another. I don't have a ton more detail than that. I can tell you that at least in the 40B context, there's a requirement of state law that you treat ordinary unsubsidized housing the same as subsidized housing. So this is not a situation where the commission can make a distinction between different kinds of uses on that front. I wanted to be clear on that. You've got to treat everybody the same. And so to the extent that a halt on water service connections is it is a binary switch. It's either everybody is treated the same way in one direction or everybody is treated the same way in the other direction. The town is not, and this is not necessarily going to be things that are before you, but the town as a whole is going to have limited latitude in certain areas. If the decision is everybody can apply and we'll start issue permits again, that is going to apply across the board more often than it is not. It's going to be harder to vet any individual particular one and make a decision on that time. So that was the information that we developed in the course of that proceeding as it relates to how other communities have had to address the questions of moratoria. I think that if you wanted to review anything, there's a section in Ms. Berger's report that addresses exactly how much the projected demand it was exceeded by the actual demand. And I think that's probably, at least for what you're asking me, I think that's relevant in that generally municipal water planning follows those projections, and the population dynamics and growth over the last 5 years have been very different from what was anticipated at the time that study was completed in, I believe, 2016.
Bob, do you have any other questions, or are you all set?
No, that was my question, because I have not heard of one where a town put in a moratorium, and I was wondering, of the ones that did, how long did it take them to remove them, and how did that impact the tax base, and how did that impact citizens in town? I agree 100% with Bud that this is really about ratepayers and providing potable water for the people in the town of Kingston. Where we disagree is where the risk is. I think the risk is small enough that it's worth cooperating with the town of Kingston that kind of needs the new commercial tax base. And I think the risk that we're running is very, very small, especially for a short period of time. This is not a 7-year before the next well goes on. It's going to be going online within 2 or 3 years.
It's interesting we talk about this commercial tax base that we're holding up. To my knowledge, of the properties that now align with any place where we had a sewer line and a water line together, there is one potential major development that would fit into that, and that would be the old Veneer property. Everything else in town already has both sewer and water connections. The mall, when they built the apartments, they did away with their treatment facility and actually are tied into the town sewer commission sewer lines at the present time. There is the potential that Town and Country Estates, because they have problems with their own sewer connection, sewer department, may in fact tie in. But when the lines were run down Summer Street to pretty much the Dutchman line, that was done with an anticipation that at some point in the future, with very little effort on part of Town and Country or the Sewer Commission, that could be hooked up. That has nothing to do with any moratorium that we have in place today, because they are all on town water. You know, the fact that the Benear property has one service, probably an inch to an inch and a half capacity, and they want to build, what we need is another car wash on Main Street, as a potential commercial development. Nobody else has come forward with anything that I'm aware of, or our superintendent is aware of, that of any commercial development that we're holding hostage. So, this.
How about redevelopment of the mall?
idea that we've got to protect the sewer commission's overextension of their financial situation and subject the residents of the town of Kingston to any potential liability is absolutely false. We used Kristen's expertise to deal with the water department and our needs and our concerns, not to ask, CDM, cost doesn't matter, known in Boston at least, that they need to review our engineering from the sewer department standpoint, not the water department standpoint. And it's about time we really said, why are we doing this? To bail out the sewer commission, or are we trying to do what is best for every resident of the town of Kingston? And with that, where I'm going with it.
Well,
After a meeting, I want something in writing from DEP before we move forward.
Let's handle this administrative thing. Just Bud put a motion to delay any sort of action on moratorium issues until after we sit with the DEP. He's looking for a second. Would you be willing to second that, Bob?
at the moment, no, I want to continue the discussion here because Bud didn't mention anything about the redevelopment of the mall, which is a significant commercial development that needs water that we can't provide at the time. And that's a big deal.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that administrative thing was done. So you want to talk about the mall, Bob? Go ahead.
There is redevelopment of the mall that's going to have to be necessary if that mall is going to survive. And the redevelopment could take on many things. All of them are going to require more water that we can't now provide because there will be major hookups. There will be bigger diameter pipes that we'll be putting in. So to say that the only commercial development in town is the car wash is not being fair. Because I'm not even concerned about the car wash on 3A. I'm way more concerned about redeveloping the mall and keeping the mall as a tax-paying member of the town of Kingston.
Anyone else have anything to contribute? Chris, yours up.
Maybe is there commercial development projects that are proposed that we're not aware of that you could shed light on that help us out with this situation?
So I think there's a lot of commercial activity that's being considered, but again, we get by last week with about something that they find out for the water stands, they have to walk away. So, a lot of the work that gets done from the commercial point of view, analysis is done before anybody that I think is even aware. Well, it's again, everybody's aware of what the challenges are with the water situation.
Could Bud give us his motion again? Because I want to hear the details on it.
Bud's motion was to delay any action on the moratorium until after such time as we have a chance to sit down with the DEP.
Do we have an appointment with DEP?
Not at the moment yet, but they're going to be. It's my understanding that they are going to be, if not already, sending us a letter to demand that meeting. It'll be here within 2 to 3 weeks.
But that meeting is not specifically about whether or not we have the moratorium should continue or not. It's about other things, right?
It's my understanding from the conversation that it's about their concerns about Kingston's water usage and sit down to discuss the solutions that we can come up with to address their concerns.
So it's entirely possible at the end of that meeting, the moratorium won't even get brought up.
That's not true.
We don't know.
I'm sorry. Keep us speaking. Not there. Yeah, there. No, I just You can call feel free to deal with Keith and speak. Please, I also want to make sure we're here. Oh, please do.
Yes, I.
Yes.
And that's your answer.
Yes. No, if this commercial development comes to sticker park, yeah.
Yes, I work.
Then commercial development's looking to come into town. You know, I think maybe best if their calls are directed to the water department, first people that needs they want to be concerned. Maybe it's a commercial property that they're looking to redevelop. There may be silos of water that's there to meet their demand. But without having a conversation with the supplier of the water department, you know, there may be the means needed there for them.
So at this point, there's been no conversations that I'm aware of to redevelop anything other than what I'll redevelop of the car wash redevelopment. Okay. Beyond that, it's been a lot of new development that would come into town. And yeah, I know we discussed it. Nothing's really public yet, but obviously the redevelopment of the mall, we have a secret player. It's looking to come in, it's going to need a significant amount of water. My understanding is that all of the water that's been allocated to the mall site is counted being used. I'm not to interpret. Sure, I didn't know we allocated X amount of gallons to the mall. But at least tells it water.
Dave, a pipe of a certain size, it serves them all.
And that can work. My understanding, what I was told in brief discussions recently earlier this week is they have to run a brand new pipe to get the pipe existing now would not provide the additional water that's needed to this commercial site. Happy to.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to get involved in discussions and involve our engineer to see, hydraulically what works and what doesn't work.
Is the existing pipe in the ground that before it will max out? Can that provide a significant amount of additional?
You used to say it's 12-inch pipe. That's mature going with 16 inches.
So again, my question is the pipe in the ground, can that provide a significant amount of additional water that the port provides now as a large commercial unit?
I don't know what the demand would be, and that's
what is the pipe in the ground today maxing out?
nothing.
Or close to max, can they provide additional a significant service? But they need a significant increase in the pipe size for large water.
I'd have to know. I don't know which occupancy you're talking about. I don't know. I can't.
Commercial basis. But the commercial site basis.
Okay.
We all talk about that.
Yep.
Actually for the site.
So
they need a significant amount of water to redevelop that site. Is there capacity in the existing line to redevelop that site?
without knowing what the demand would be, there's capacity.
There's 8 gallons in that pipe, $1 million gallons of in that pipe.
Not really $1 million gallons. That's
Like a $500,000 pipe.
I can't tell you the actual flow of view.
Do I get a source you need to be able to sense of what it is? We have to,
Kristen, are you still on?
I mean,
Yes.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm having these conversations.
Yeah.
We're a million from a 1,000-foot level, right? I
But also understand.
reach out, and maybe I should have reached out to try to get a better sense. What I'm being told by the developers through staff is that the pipe size that they need, the additional several inch pipe.
What's the bigger question is, if they need 1 million gallons a day or 1 million gallons, can the existing system, if we pull the plug on the moratorium and they put that pipe or that development in the ground tomorrow, could we substantially provide that amount of water without impacting the residents down the Kingston? Until they talk to that man and that woman, our engineer. I don't care about CDM, and I don't care what goes down the hill. We can't be aware of that. But unless we know what we're talking about, we can give you, we can give them the appropriate answer. We need that information to go to the superintendent and to our engineers so that we can make an evaluation. Until we do that, to pull the plug is the wrong way to go. So my opinion.
But the issue is here is that we're not going to get that information. No one's going to get that information. So these companies that come in here are going to say, what are our options? Oh, there's a moratorium. Let's not even bother. So the conversation ends there. We don't have any more information about what usage they need and that sort of stuff. So I think for that reason alone, for the ability to plan for the future, for things 2 to 3 years out, when we will have a new well online, everything works out as well. That is what I think removing the moratorium gives us. And we have a lot of other tools at our disposal in the meantime to meet the needs we have, barring that catastrophe, that unlikely event, which we need to plan for. It's in the best interest, I believe, for the town and the water department to remove that so that we can move forward and not just stagnate and lose a lot of opportunities that could come down the way. So that's where I'm coming from this.
So it's, back to your questions about that site, if the ability for a larger sprinkler line because of floor space or storage, I don't know, there's probably a minimum of 6, about an 8-inch, probably an 8-inch sprinkler line runs into that with a 2-inch master block, which is a wire walk. That's thinking of wire walk. No, I don't know any fox bigger than a 2-inch master block. So,
Yeah, I can't speak that in specifics today. All I've been asked is, I've walked past south and I've noticed a little bit off topic of the same. So we've been, I know, one of the things that was rough was that the apartments at the mall off is utilizing significantly more water than what was suggested to the water commission to above ground. I don't know. To me, I'm not smart enough to understand how water works. Right? I would think about if there's a 1 million gallon leak, somehow we'd see it. But maybe I don't know. Does it make any sense for the water department, the water commission to work with the owners of the mall, of the apartment complex malls, to find where that water's going? I mean, it's well over $1 million. $1 million gallons of water, more than it was last.
Yeah, there's 7 million. Those are the numbers I pulled up with Stacy last week when we came in. It's 7 million per quarter about 7 reads ago, and now they're up to 17 million a quarter.
Now, some of that certainly has to do with the percentage of occupancy they have there. They move different models, so as you try to put tenants in their buildings. But it just feels like going from 7 to 17 is an awfully good number. And like I said, are there techniques you can use to try to identify a leak someplace underneath the building or someplace with the water infrastructure of those apartments? And maybe we can work on them and say, if we find a leak, it's your responsibility to fix, and they'll find a leak. We'll pay for the testing of to see if there's any leaks out there. But that's a ton of the water we can get essentially back. So I know it's off topic, but I just want to fill it out with
a little bit of the history on the mall related to the pipes. They have a 4-inch line that comes in to the domestic. It splits off into 2 meters. So we have 1 meter for service. They can shut one down, isolate, and use the spare meter. From that, it goes into a 2-inch line that goes throughout their building. So anything post metered is all above grade in their building. So any leaks in there would be identified through water showing ceilings, floors, whatsoever. The projections that they made were based on the per capita per person day. So they say you're going to use 60 gallons per day. This is a 2 bedrooms. This one use 120 gallons. That's where conservative happens. When you have someone that comes in and does dishes and leaves the water on the whole time, and they go and use the bathroom, leave the water running while they do dishes, and they take and want a hot bathroom and leave the hot water running and steam the place up. Those are abnormal uses. And that's what's going on to our feelings. Because if there's leaks underground, there is no underground. It's all service. Once it comes out, it goes to that meter. It's all aerial. It's all in the walls and the ceilings throughout the whole building.
get it.
So it's all going down the drain. So you can take a look at that and what the wastewater product takes in for intake. They can look at their lift station that's right there, and that's going to give you gallons out or gallons that we're pumping going through the meter, and the gallons that are coming in the lift station, the gallons they pump into their facility. So you can
Maybe look at like 3 a.m. and see what's happening with that. That's most likely when the leak is going to be noticed if things are still dead. I'm not going to So, it's under facility, a lot of toilets, a lot of sinks, a lot of showers. They get it, right? But I mean, again, I think my impression is that the water was permitted the connection to that based on assumption of the realities. Significant can work with the owner of that property to try to isolate where that stuff is coming, where that usage is, so they can try to reduce it. The enough spots to eat. They use it there. That's typically down, but we got somebody else.
It's a bottom line. It's going down the drain. There's waste going on there. So hopefully it's going to let me in.
Yeah, I mean, they're paying the bill. They're paying the bill. I get it. Let's leave the water for you as a official.
Well, everybody's personal habit. So
I get it.
to look to the other end of that facility, to say what the demand is, you could have a grocery store that's going to say, hey, we need 500 to 1,000 gallons a day for wash down, prep, and everything else. You're going to get that more than sufficient out of 2 inch slot. But to say that you put in apartments, that's going to be a tough spot.
I
understand it all comes out of individual habits. So that the guy watching his car, he throws the hose running on the ground while he finishes soaking his counter up. At 3 to 5 gallons a minute coming out of the hose.
I get it.
It adds up.
I just wonder, I'm not the expert yet.
I'm just trying to explain things. I picture it to you, but it's just trying to say, this commercial development that's coming in. I'd be happy to meet you if it's, I don't want to say a executive meeting. So be it. Just to get, hey, looking to do this or that. You could repurpose this service or whatever. Sure. Not to discourage anything, but I'm open for discussion. But nothing comes to me. Nothing. The phone doesn't ring. I don't get the email. So if I don't ask the question, I can't do my best to answer or reach out to our engineer to see the best possible answer to track that. And just to say there's a moratorium, we don't have the water, and they're like, well, let's go ahead, the flag up and walk away. I mean, I'd be happy to discuss that. That's right.
You share. So I can have a lot of conversations with our staff about what's available. Again, sometimes a lot of else communities when they hear that right now there's a lot of they're shut down.
Sure. But they should come right to the source of the water and ask those questions.
So that, the discussion, you and Chris and whoever it is, so that, the circle is closed.
The purpose of moratorium is in no way to discourage growth or expansion or anything like that. It's to control the consumption, the usage with our pumpage.
Again, I'm just telling you that I think the Water Commission did a great job at trying to maintain the ability to provide water to its current servers. I think there's a discrepancy out of this executives that there's water that's in excess that can be used and provided over and above what we're doing now, based on a disagreement between 2 engineers. It would be nice to have DEP be able to look at the analysis that was done and say that one of the two applied them more accurately than the other, without them taking a side or stating an opinion whether they should give more target. And frankly, in my impression, it seems hesitant to do that. It hesitant to do that with other projects in town that aren't water related. But the one moratorium is fiscal 27 is going to be really with, but it has a lot to do about the lack there. So if there is available water that can be sold, or ways to work with DEP to address the need that we have today, we're using the current infrastructure in place, I implore you to research that.
And that's all I'm asking is don't change what we're doing for that chance to research that with DEP. Jim McLaughlin's been around for a long time. We've dealt with him before. He's forthright. will tell us that where DEP is, so that in fact, whatever we do, we're moving forward with as much knowledge as we can possibly get out of DEP. And yeah, without something in writing, I'm extremely hesitant. To be honest. Yeah.
And there's no property that has a lot of amount of water. That was the case of the mall. They were, when they made the projection, to be able to be 300,000 gallons a quarter, and they go over that and you shut them off. That's it. We'll figure out the next 2 months of your quarter.
Oh, I understand that.
It's the water's flowing, and they're going to flow to the meter. They have to pay for what they use. There's no specified amount per unit per size pipe or something of that sort.
What are the prospects that DEP will give us an answer about their opinion about the moratorium? My sense is that if it's interagency squabbling, they stay out of it.
The impression I've gotten is they don't want to make a policy decision. Which look, this is having a moratorium. I'm not going to say you should, you should. Like which is why I've asked, or made the comments too, that they should look at the analysis that's been done in the term of the analysis that it's applied properly based on best practice, and then that will tell you whether you have no water in the south or more additional water.
So you had that conversation with the DEP.
I had a conversation with DEP about that moratorium.
Okay, if you said you would just do the way you were speaking, I just thought you had maybe a conversation with DEP.
No, and I think that when we sit down with the DEP, that we're going to go through all their concerns, look at how we can address each of those concerns. At the bottom of all those solutions would be a moratorium at the end. I think those things in between are what we need to focus on, and that's what allows us as a town to be able to plan for the future, but also deal with the water usage concerns they have. And so I think the moratorium has served its purpose for the past couple of years. Right now, it's more hindrance than it is helpful, in that as we remove that and then allow the town to be able to plan, we can then address these other concerns as they come up with that moratorium still in the bottom of the list as the ultimate measure if we can't get the numbers in line. And so I see that as being still on the table, but not the preferred option. James, that's the question. I think it's not fair. Chris.
Yes.
Yeah. The first thing I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the report that CDM provided. I assume to the Water Commission.
Upon request. When it seems that I'm not the for you know, it seems that you that had a copy that
I got it today.
If Bob Rollins,
I got it today. So I don't know what you got it.
Yeah.
If you didn't get it, you got it after about 1 o'clock. You're right. I had it before.
Well,
no.
So
did we get a new report from CDM today?
I called Ryan Dono today, asked if he had a copy of the letter. Brought to me 1-ish, and that's what I got. So my question, I guess, to Kristen is: did you read the letter that CDM put together, and are there aspects of that letter that you just disagree with regards to their analysis that shows that there is water available to sell, even if one of the wells goes down for some period of time?
When I reviewed what they did, that's not what I read.
Quick question.
Yep.
Sorry. Attorney prevention I just don't want to interfere with any the ongoing litigation. Would it be appropriate for Kristen to answer that question with the ongoing litigation?
I mean, I think to the extent that this is a public document and she's reviewed it, and I'm not aware of it being utilized in litigation. And my understanding from what she started to say is that I think she's going to indicate something to the effect that her analysis leads her to a different place. So I don't, as long as, my understanding is that she's not changing any of the conclusions that she's previously advanced. So I don't think it makes a difference from my perspective.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to make sure we get to legal data. Thank you.
Yeah, so in that memorandum or letter report that CDM put together, they had similar findings. The only thing that they were pushing was to pump the Grassy Hole and the 186 well concurrently. Right now, the Mass DEP issued a permit that prohibits pumping of those two wells concurrently. And that's what we based the analysis of. When we talked about this a few years ago, the board decided they did not want to pursue pumping of those two wells concurrently because of the potential environmental impacts. So if you remember from that Water Management Act permit, for DEP to even consider allowing pumping those two wells together, they were requiring environmental monitoring as a baseline minimum of 1 year, and that's pumping the wells separately, not at the same time, because they want to get baseline conditions. The hope would be that that baseline would occur during like a normal year, because if it was exceptionally wet or dry, that would skew the data. Once that baseline data is reliable, then you move towards continuing to monitor environmental conditions during concurrent pumping of the wells. Similar thing, where you need at least 1 year's worth of data for DEP to even consider removing that requirement in the permit, or that restriction, I should say, in the permit. And again, if the year is exceptionally wet or dry, there might be the need to continue that monitoring longer before DEP would be willing to make a decision either way. The one thing that CDM was saying was, well, DEP will let you pump the two wells together in an emergency. And that was something that we don't have anything in writing from DEP about that. And that's what we talked about, at the prior meetings, that DEP would need to provide guidance on doing that and what the potential regulatory repercussions would be.
Somebody maybe that's a question. Yes.
I'll say that. Yep. Does anyone have any new information or questions that we want to address in the spirit of moving this on? All right. So, with that, not hearing anything else here, anyone have anything else they want to move or put forward before we adjourn?
I'd be willing to support Bud's motion, provided we had say at our next meeting we will make a decision. We got 3 weeks. If we don't meet with DEP between now and 3 weeks, they don't want to meet with us. If we meet with them between now and our next meeting, we should have some very solid information to make a vote on. So I'm okay if we defer decision about this until our next meeting.
Is that acceptable?
That's acceptable to me at this point, and hopefully we can reach out and try to convince Jim McLaughlin that he needs to come to Kingston. Or we can go to the middle of our. Yeah.
The motion on the table is to delay any decision on any DEP or any moratorium
Until the next meeting.
And we have a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
I'll say aye as well. So it carries. We'll see. I mean, whether or not we have to take a vote the next meeting, I think it's up. We'll put it on the agenda, Bob, and then we'll deal with the facts as they stand. That
Yeah, put it on the agenda. I'd like that to be the first item on the agenda.
Okay. Or we'll defer to Stacy in terms of agenda rating. Yeah, I think would be the smartest play. But one last thing I wanted to address you though is obviously with the conversation here and the device music, I do think we need to pursue with Town IT a conference speakerphone. You did. Oh, there we go. Good. We'll see how that works. It's definitely a little bit difficult with
Taxing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least don't look at Bob's beard the entire time. Listen. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Do we have a second? Bob? Second to adjourn?
Yeah, it's not.
He's still there, but he just.
Second to adjourn.
All right. So Gary. All right. Good conversation, guys. And yeah, I apologize for not communicating better as well as I'm not new at this as well. I don't even know half the stuff I'm hearing. So